All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for joining tonight. I'm Jeremy Hips. I'm one of the owners of MatBoss. We have an hour tonight. I can stay longer if needed, but I'll try and get through a lot of the content within the hour. Um, Feel free to ask questions at any time, though. You can ask questions either by putting a question in the chat here, and Eric from our team will pick it up and interrupt me and read it. Or if you want to just unmute, ask the question, do that at any time. We just have a handful of people on here, and there's no bad questions. So if you're wondering about something or unsure how to do something, definitely ask it because I'm sure there's other folks that have the same question. So, all right. Well, I want to start by just sharing some resources. Give me one second. I'm gonna move this out of the way. I'm gonna share some resources at MatBoss. So, obviously, we're always here to help. We're always here to support you in any way. If you have support tickets that you send in or you call our call center, we never want you to feel stuck or feel like you're not sure what to do in the app. So always reach out to us. But I know a lot of folks also like to, um, use use other resources to get their question answered without contacting us and dealing with that. So I just want to point out a few things. So if you go to matboss.com, up at the top of the page, you can see there's a help section here. Underneath this help section, there's obviously the customer trainings that we're doing between now and the end of November. We're going to have those twice a week. So if there's other folks on your team, managers, other assistant coaches, etc., that you want to join, point them to this page, and then they can join one of the ones in the future. Join as many as you want to, etc. We're also taking the recordings of these training sessions and we're putting the recordings up on that page. So if you ever want to go back and reference it, watch a different training, etc., you can definitely jump in there and watch the old recordings. Underneath this help section, we also have a season setup checklist. I'm going to cover a certain amount of the items on here today, but this is a great reference. So if you click on it, you can see we have a printable version of some some things to just kind of check off the list to confirm as you get ready and you get set up for the season. So it's a nice little reference to be able to look through or have your team look through as you're getting the account set up for the season. Oops, I closed the wrong tab here. Let me go back. We also have a knowledge base. This knowledge base is a great spot for you to be able to search for topics, find articles, find FAQs that maybe you're looking for. Like an example of that would be if the IT team at your school is looking for whitelist info, you could type in whitelist, and sure enough, there's an article here that gives you all the information you would need to whitelist MatBoss within your school and that sort of thing. So that's a great self-help resource. If you ever need to get a hold of us because you're really struggling, you have two options. One is you can click on this submit a support ticket and send a ticket to us. We have a team of folks that will pick up those tickets. We try and respond back really quickly, get back to you on your issue. Also, at the bottom of that support page, we have a phone number and we have a call center that's staffed Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. Central. And then on Saturdays during the wrestling season, you could call from 8 a.m. till noon. So if you're at a tournament in the morning and you're having problems or whatever, we have people that can pick up and help you. If you click on that support ticket, the phone number is at the bottom here. It's 1-866-509-BOSS. And you can get a hold of one of us to talk through your issue. And then lastly, I think this is a great resource. We have a bunch of tutorial videos that are available for you to watch. They're not too long. Each video is 1 to 3 minutes, and they just cover specific topics and specific functions within the app. So if you just want a quick hitter and you want to learn something or you're unsure how to do something, go ahead and click on any of these videos and you'll have a quick video shows you exactly how to do what you're looking for. All right, I just want to cover that with you guys so that you knew those resources are out there and you knew how to get to them in case you were stuck or needed help or wanted a refresher or something like that. So before I jump into the demo and kind of talk through some of the new features that we implemented in MatBoss, does anybody have any questions before I dive into it? Okay. Well, if there's anything specifically you want to make sure I cover or that you want to definitely see, definitely put that in the chat and Eric will pick it up up and he can make sure I can show that or demo it if I, we only have an hour. So if I go through something and you don't see it, or I don't do it, then Eric can let me know and I can take care of that. All right. Well, I'm going to start by logging into the website here. So if you can see my screen right now, I'm in the web version of MatBoss. And one thing you'll notice this year is that this website is different than it has been in the past. And what we've done over this last year is we've made the app and the website work and act and look exactly the same. So in the past, we had a website that worked a little bit differently than the app that we were using to record and film. And now we've made that experience exactly the same. And so now if you've learned how to do something on either the iPad or the website, you know how to do it. You don't have to learn it both ways. So hopefully that's easier for you guys and you're getting used to a consistent experience, whether you're on a device or you're logged in, at school or at home on your computer. When you first log in for this season, you should be in the 25-26 season. And the way that you can see what season you're in is up in the upper left. I can see I'm in Edina, Minnesota's high school boys account, and I can see that I'm in the 25-26 season. Because you're in this season, when you log in, you probably don't have any events here because the season's just starting. You haven't imported events, you haven't created events, etc. So you can expect that this would be blank. If you click on your roster, you'll notice that your last year's roster is probably here and viewable. And obviously, some of the first things to do for the season are get your roster, get your schedule built out in either Track Wrestling or USA Bracketing if your state is using those systems to be kind of the master repository of results. Step number one, obviously you can log into your MatBoss account, you can look at old things, but one of the first steps for the season is go to either USA Bracketing or Track Wrestling and get your roster built, get your schedule built out in there, right? And if you're in a state that isn't using one of the two, you can always create these things manually in the account. And the way that you create an event, for example, is you would just click on the plus button in the lower right of your events, pick your scorebook that the event's for, click the type of event it is, whether it's a dual meet, a tournament, or a multi-dual event. Multi-dual events are a new feature that we've built in MatBoss this year. In the past, if you had a multi-dual event, every one of those duels would be a separate event in the scorebook. Now you can create a multi-dual event and then nest those dual meets underneath that macro event. So it's kind of a nice feature. It keeps the scorebook a little bit cleaner and makes more sense. So when you're looking at duels, was this at the try or the quad or the team tournament, etc. But you can build multi-dual events now in MatBoss. With your roster, obviously the best way to do it, like I mentioned, would be build your roster in Track Wrestling or USA Bracketing, and then use the import function to bring those rosters into your account. You always want to make sure before you import, and events works the same way. So up in the upper right hand corner, there's an import function, and you can see you can import from either Track Wrestling or USA Bracketing. They're tabbed right here. But obviously, one thing you want to check is to make sure that your team settings are linked with your team in either one of those systems. So if I clicked on USA Bracketing, this is a testing account, so we're using a test account of USA Bracketing, but this account is tied to Alaska Soldotna for USA Bracketing. And what that means is when I come here and I do the import, if I'm on this USA Bracketing tab, I'm getting my team's events from USA Bracketing here. So if you click on this import and it's empty or it's not your team's events or it's not your team's roster, always come back here to settings and double check that your team is the one that is linked in here to either Track Wrestling or USA Bracketing.
Hey, Jeremy, we've got a question in the chat.
Yeah, great.
Mike was wondering, can I just enter roster and events on the MatBoss app? I'm a first-time user. Yeah.
100% you can, Mike. That's a great question. So the way you do it is your events page will be blank here. In the lower right corner, there's a plus button, or you could do the add event, but click on the plus button, and then this pop-up will come up that allows you to just create the event. So I'll go ahead and create a duel right now. Um, I'll say we are wrestling uh Wayzata. And that meet is this Friday night. It's a dual meet. This is a varsity duel, so I'm making sure it's in the varsity scorebook here. And then I click save, and there it is. I have that event in my MatBoss account. Now, on the iPads, when you log in on the iPad, when that device connects to the internet and it's synced, it's going to pull that event down from your account and be on each one of your devices. So you don't have to go and add these events to every single one of your devices. You just have to add it once, either on the iPad or online through a web browser. And when all the devices sync, they'll pull those events in.
All right, Jeremy, just while we're on this topic, Cody had a
Yeah.
question. Just curious, how many states are using USA bracketing already this year?
The states that are using USA bracketing right now are Minnesota, Wisconsin, Ohio, Indiana, and Alaska. So five of them for year one is our understanding. And in those states, they're using USA bracketing for both boys and girls. Um, Mike, the other thing I wanted to show is so MatBoss comes with 3 scorebooks. Okay. I can navigate between the scorebooks at the top here where it says I'm in events, and then it says events colon, and then right now I'm in the varsity scorebook. Okay. MatBoss comes with 3 scorebooks. Right now in this account, we've called them varsity, junior varsity, and middle school. But you can name them whatever you'd like to name them. So you can customize them completely, and I'll show you how to do that right after this. So in those 3 scorebooks, as you create events, the matches and the scoring and the stats and that happen in those scorebooks, if events are in those scorebooks, all those stats roll up to that level. So if I create events in the junior varsity scorebook, when those stats compile, those are all junior varsity stats. If I film matches in the varsity scorebook, those are varsity stats, etc. And so that's the way it all kind of rolls up and works together. Now, it's really easy to fix things. So if you record some varsity matches in the junior varsity scorebook, don't sweat it too much. It's easy to move. We can just move like you can move those matches from this event to this event in this scorebook and fix the stats and that sort of thing. So don't get too stressed out about that.
With the in Illinois, we use the track for the OPC. At the
Yep.
end of the season, does that link together, or what? Do I have to do anything separate there? Do I need to go into track at all? I mean, really, is what I'm saying.
Well, you at the beginning of the season, you're going to want to go into track and build your roster in there because all the weight certification is there, and then you're going to want to put your schedule and your events in, and
Right.
then then you can import those into MapBoss.
Well, I before I got on this, I started import or putting my events into MatBoss, and I started putting
Yep.
my roster in. Should I take those out and then just go do it on track and then import? Or
I would say with the events, you may want to get rid of those and just use the imported event. And I'll import an event here quick and just show you. Um, you can really do it either way, but let me bring in one of these events from USA Bracketing because I just want to show you how you differentiate between the date was it's an older date, so it's not in the upcoming. So I'll show you in the all view here. But if you look at this big October tournament that I just imported, I can see that this was imported from USA Bracketing because this icon and this logo are here on the event. And if you imported it from Track Wrestling, you would see that this would be a Track Wrestling imported event. Okay. Now, when the event is over, typically we get a lot of questions about exporting results. So how I would describe it to you guys. If you're in a state that uses track wrestling, there's a very good chance that almost every single tournament is going to be run on track wrestling. And because the tournament is run on track wrestling, they already have all the results there. So you don't have to export, like if you film a bunch of matches in your MapBoss account, you typically don't have to export those results to track because they already have it because the tournament was already run there. If you're hosting a home dual meet and you're not running that dual meet in track wrestling, a lot of teams don't, but you need to get those results to track wrestling. At the end of the dual meet, I'll click on this one. You can click this export And then what you can do is you can match up this event that you want to export with your event in track wrestling, and then export those results to back into track wrestling versus going back in and manually rekeying it.
Got it.
Okay. So it's okay that you created those manually. It's no problem. You can still export that to track wrestling. It's just when you click export on that dual meet, for example, it's gonna show you a list of your events in track wrestling, and then you would say, hey, this is the event that I want to export to. With the roster, it's no big deal that you're adding the wrestlers to the roster right now. I think that's perfectly fine. When you do the import here, what's going to happen is we're going to show you all the names that are in track wrestling here on the left-hand side. And then we're going to try and auto match that track wrestling roster entry with your MatBoss entry. And so if the name is the same, we're going to say, okay, yeah, this entry in MatBoss is the same entry in track wrestling. And now that MatBoss profile and that track wrestling profile are linked up. If there's somebody that is coming in on track, but they're not already on your MatBoss roster, it's going to say select wrestler. And in that instance, you're going to click on this and you're going to say, let's create a new roster entry in MatBoss for that person. So I'll click create new for that. And then I'm going to click import. And then what it's going to say is, hey, you got a bunch of names in your MatBoss account that actually aren't on track wrestling. And the reason that happens is because you may have had wrestlers that were in MatBoss and now they've graduated. Now they're former wrestlers. So what you can do then is just say, all right, I got these folks in my MatBoss account, but they graduated. They're no longer in my active roster, or maybe they quit the team. You can mark those people. You say mark missing wrestlers, and then we're automatically going to move them to a former wrestler status. If you're looking at your roster and you want to do some manual work on that, and you're like looking at your roster and you're like, yeah, he's still coming back. He's coming back. He's coming back. This guy is no longer on the team. You can click on the level here, mark them as former this way, save it, and then they'd be moved to former wrestler also. Former wrestler is basically a way that we take the graduated wrestlers or the wrestlers that quit, move them over to a different area so they're not in your active roster. You're not having to see those names all the time and things like that. We don't ever delete wrestlers that have matches, because if we started deleting wrestlers that had matches, then that would mess up all your team stats and your dual meet scores and all that sort of thing. So you can delete a wrestler profile, but only if they don't have matches tied to them. If you want them off your active roster, move them to former to get them kind of off that active roster. Any questions on that? Okay. So one of the most important things obviously is start the season off by getting your roster right, get your schedules right, make sure that you're building your events at the right level all the time. So like if you're having dual meets, you're obviously going to have the varsity one, but you probably need to go and build the junior varsity ones also, right? Or if you're running your girls or your middle school on that third scorebook, make sure you build their events too. And then when the iPad, if you get your schedule completely built out, then when people grab the iPads and they sync or they log in, connect to the internet, all those events and all that roster and all that stuff will flow into these devices. And then you're working off clean copies on all those devices, if that makes sense.
It does. I had another question about the roster.
Yep.
So in Illinois, the girls this season can wrestle boys up until I can't remember if there's a certain date, or once they wrestle boys, they can only wrestle girls, or once they wrestle a girl, they can only wrestle girls the rest of the season.
Okay.
So do I need to add, I'm assuming I just add all the girls into my boys roster, and then I'm doing another MatBoss for the girls team as well.
Yep.
Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. So basically your boys account would link to your boys roster. And if the girls were on there, they would come in here. They would
Okay.
come in.
So
Then
at the end of the end of the season for the girls, then, and I have to have my match count sent over to, for IHSA, have to have their match count sent over. So then I have to print off both a boys and a girls for that particular girl.
if there's a lot of overlap in that way, you would have to. And it's
Okay.
going to get, where it's going to get slightly complex for you is, this is something we have an enhancement in that we're going to get done next year. But right now, one email can only be used in one account. So where it's going to become slightly problematic if you have a lot of girls that are wrestling boys, and then they're also going back and wrestling girls, is
Oh.
the email that they use for a login. I would, for you, Mike, I'd probably have them log into the girls' account, since that's where the majority of their matches are going to be.
Right.
For the boys' account, they would have to use a different email to be able to log into the boys' account to see those matches.
I got it. I understand. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Good questions, you guys. Thank you for asking. And it's always, these always are, I really like when folks ask questions and make it interactive. Okay, so, and big thing, get your schedule, get your roster right. If you need any help with that, cleaning it up, go ahead and reach out and let us know. Otherwise, kind of look at some of those tutorial videos, but we're always here to help. And it's important to get that right to start.
Hey, Jeremy, before you move on, Cody had a question for my returners. They are all listed by grade level for last year. Can they also can they auto update to the next grade each year?
Yeah, so MatBoss doesn't auto move the grades, but what happens is, Cody, well, I'm not sure what state you're in, but if you're in yeah, go ahead, Cody.
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, okay. So Cody, you guys are using USA bracketing this year, obviously.
Yeah.
When you import your roster from USA bracketing this year, we're gonna grab the grade level from USA bracketing, and we'll update the grade level of your wrestlers when you do that import.
Awesome.
So basically, we'll match whatever in track wrestling or USA bracketing, but we don't auto update kids' grade levels in MatBoss, because we're not sure. Like, we don't want to take a kid and move them into former status if you really didn't graduate, that kind of thing. So we wait to get whatever we get from either USA bracketing or track wrestling.
Thank you.
Yep. Yep. No worries. Okay, I'm gonna keep going here. I want to show some more new features for new customers and for returning customers. So one thing for sure is that when you're looking at the roster, there's a couple different ways to get to the video that you want to watch. One easy way is, if one of your wrestlers came over to you and was like, "Hey coach, do you mind if we look at my matches together?" You can always just go to the roster and click on their name. Uh, I'm glad I did that, because one thing I want to show you is, I'm in the current season. This wrestler doesn't have any matches in the current season. If I want to look at past season's video, up in the upper left, there's this season selector, and I can click on the year that I'm trying to look at. So I'm going to click on that, and you can see we're pulling in that data. And now I have all that wrestler's matches here. So if I go back to the roster and I click on, I'll just click on another wrestler here. You can see all that wrestler's matches are here and available to me. That's one way to view the matches. Another way to view the matches is, obviously, I can just look at the schedule, and I could click into any one of these events, be able to see the dual score, etc., see the results, see the list of all the matches, and be able to click in and watch any of those videos. The third way you can get to your video is on the left-hand side, there's a matches tab here. So this matches tab is all the matches for that season all together here like this. And now I have the ability to filter and sort this video in different ways. So I could say, I only want to see the varsity matches, or I only want to see the JV matches. Or you could take a specific event and look at just that event. So if I just clicked, like a random dual meet, I have all the matches for that dual meet. Or I could pick a specific wrestler, or where it gets really interesting that I want to show you is, you can start breaking the video down by specific scoring events. So you could say, show me all the takedowns, show me all the takedowns for this dual meet, that sort of thing. And I'll demo that in a second. So first, let's just jump into a match here. And again, I'm streaming this video to you guys. So if it's a little bit choppy, it'll be clear for me, but because we're streaming inside of a Zoom call, sometimes it can be like slightly choppy, but I'm going to jump into this match here. So one feature I wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of is when you're watching a match, you can click on any of the scoring symbols in the timeline, and MatBoss is going to jump you to about 8 seconds before that scoring event happened. So it's an easier way to watch video than trying to grab this scrubber bar and scroll back and forth to find what you're looking for. Instead, if I'm like, hey, I want to see this takedown in the third period, all you have to do is click on that takedown and we're going to take you to that spot, or a little bit earlier so you can see the setup, but to that spot in the video. And you can do that and as many times as you want. You can click on different ones. You can click on the same one and continue to review it. So I'll click on it again. We can look at it. Now I can also slow this video down. So in the lower left, there's a 1x button here. If I click on that, I can click on, let's watch this at 25%. I click back on that takedown, and now we're slowing it down and really analyzing the video. A few other things we can do here. One is we can put match notes against this. So this is a new feature on MatBoss this year. So if as a coaching staff, you're like, we want to get some notes on these matches for these kids to see and to improve, there's a text bubble right here. You can click on this and say, you know, we can just, I'll give a coaching tip, something like, keep your head up on your shots or something. You guys would give better coaching tips than me on this, but and now those notes stay with this match, and so they can always be referenced. They can always be pulled up and looked at. The wrestlers can also go and look at these notes, or they can go and add to the notes, right? So some coaches may say, I'm going to put some notes in there. I want to make sure you guys go watch your matches, look at the feedback I've given you, and I'd like to get your thoughts on it too. So the wrestler can come back on here and go, agree, coach, I'm working on it, or something like that. So it's a good way to like trade notes back and forth on a specific match. The other thing you can do is use telestration tools on the video. So next to that bubble, there's a pencil icon. If I click on that, we're going to go into a telestration mode. And so, I could start editing videos. I could maybe put an arrow and say, put a note on this that says, I'll say stay on the ankle or something like that. And now what happens after I save that is you can see that there's a icon now on the timeline that shows there's a telestration on the match. And if we go back and watch this match, I'm going to get out of 25% speed, but I'll go back to normal speed and we'll hit play on this. What you'll see is when the telestration happens, the video is going to pause for a second, for 2 seconds, so that you can see the wrestler and you can see the telestration on there, and then the video is going to carry on once we get to the spot here. So you saw it paused, showed the comments, showed the drawings that we did on it, and then it carried on. So this is another good way if you're trying to help a wrestler out. You could take some of the wrestlers' videos, put notes on there, telestrate on there, and then when they go back and watch it, that those drawings are there and available to the wrestler. If you guys downloaded the video out of MatBoss and downloaded a copy that you're doing something with, those drawings don't come with the download. So if you're downloading it to put into a highlight film or on social media or something like that, those drawings would not come with that. All right, I'm gonna pause for 1 second on that. Does anybody have questions on that? Okay. The other thing I wanted to highlight is when you're looking at matches, you can see now underneath the status here, because we have a drawing on here and because we put notes on here, there's an icon on here. So it's easy for you to be able to see and reference those matches that maybe have telestrations or drawings on it. This icon, the screen cloud with the check mark, means that the video has been uploaded to MatBoss and we have it safely. And so when you watch that, you're going to be pulling it down from our cloud environment to watch it. A notepad with a check mark, a gray notepad like this with a check, means it's a stats only match and there's no video tied to the match. And you can see that probably makes sense here because this match was a forfeit, and so they didn't record the forfeit. They just created the forfeit but didn't capture any video with that. If it's a gray cloud with an arrow pointing up, that means the video has been captured, but that video is on the iPad still and it hasn't been uploaded to MatBoss yet. So it could be watched locally on the iPad that captured it, but it couldn't be watched by anybody else just logging into the account and things like that until it was uploaded to us. And I'm going to show you how to record a video and upload it here shortly. All right, I'm just going to show this feature really quickly. I talked about the ability to break down video by scoring event. I think this is super powerful, and I hope you guys use it this year. So if I grab a wrestler, I'll grab Max Holman, and we say, Max, you've been doing great, but I feel like you're getting taken down quite a bit. Let's see how you're getting taken down. I can come here and I selected Max Holman. Now I'm going to grab the T3s against scoring event. And now we've broken down the video by all those times where Max has gotten taken down. And I can just click on one here. And it's going to take me right to that takedown. And now in the upper right, it says next T3 against. So I can click on this and go to the next one. It's going to take me right to that spot. And now let's look at another one. And so you can do this with any scoring event. You could do reversals, escapes, for, against, all that sort of thing. But it gives you the ability to filter down and then quickly see all the clips related to that scoring event. I think it's a great way to like quickly analyze, look for trends and that sort of thing. All right, I'm gonna pause there. Any questions? Otherwise, I'm gonna move on to stats.
Good to
Quick
go.
question. So go ahead.
Hey, Cody, go ahead.
So that feature that you just showed, that real option, that's pretty awesome. Is that only for this year's matches, or if we have previous year's matches, does that software work on that so we can go back and use that live right now?
Yep, you can use it live with past seasons right now.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you.
Now, the one thing that may that might be like slightly tricky is if you went back 2 years, takedowns were T2s then. So the takedowns for and against more than like later than last year, where it was T2, might be slightly problematic. I'm not 100% sure it is, but it just popped in my head that T2 versus T3 could be a problem there. But I hope you guys use it. I think it's super powerful. I think it's a great way to navigate around the video and be able to clip around and really see, look for trends in the video that maybe you wouldn't notice unless you're kind of watching them back to back. Okay, because you're capturing the video and the statistics in real time in MatBoss, we do all the heavy lifting for you in terms of stats, reports, and that sort of thing. So if you have good managers and the folks that are filming are doing a great job in the scoring, and I would say most teams do a fantastic job of this, especially after they've gotten some experience. When you log in your MatBoss account, you're going to have a full suite of stats here that are available to you. And so all you have to do is click on the stats and reports. From here, you can do the same filtering. Like you could say, I want to see varsity, junior varsity, or stats from any of the scorebooks. You can filter stats by just specific events, dual meets, tournaments, etc. Or you can filter down on stats by just a specific wrestler. Now, one of the things about our stats is we obviously capture the high level metrics that you guys would expect, like number of matches, wins, losses, winning percentage. We have a metric in here that's called MatBoss Power Index, which is like a dominant score, right? With the higher that score is, the better the wrestler is on your team. And I can almost guarantee you guys, if you click on this and you sort by your MatBoss Power Index, your best wrestlers are going to be at the top. I can almost guarantee it. We have falls for and falls against, tech falls for and against, majors, all that good stuff, bonus point percentage, all the stuff that you guys would expect. But where I think that these metrics get really powerful is we also break your wrestlers down by position. So you can see here next to this individual tab, there's a neutral tab. And so we produce a lot of different metrics related to how your wrestler's performing on their feet. So we'll look at the number of times the wrestler's been on their feet, the number of takedowns they've gotten, the number of takedowns they've given up, what percent of the time they're on their feet that they get a takedown, or what percent of the time they're on their feet they get taken down. We produce a point differential from the wrestlers on their feet. We also do things like calculate how often they're getting the first takedown in the match, which I know a lot of coaches like to track. First takedown is usually an indicator of winning the match. And so, but then we do that for every position. So if you looked at your wrestlers from the bottom, you're probably keying on things like what's their getaway percentage? How often are they getting turned? How often are they giving up falls or, significant near fall points? What's their point differential from the bottom, etc. You can do that from top, but then we also break your wrestlers down by period. And so you can look at how their scoring translates across the different periods in a match. And I know coaches use this in a couple different ways. Like one way is if you're seeing wrestlers that are getting outscored significantly in the first period, maybe they're not getting a good warm up, right? Maybe they're goofing around before the match and they're not getting ready for the match, and so they start matches slowly. If you have wrestlers that are getting outscored significantly in the third period or overtime, potentially that's a conditioning problem that you guys need to look at. So that's a way to use that data to really break it down. And then we're also starting to produce some more advanced analytics or advanced metrics that you guys could look at and play with. Examples of that are we're looking at where your wrestler is scoring the most and has the most positive point differential. And we're identifying that as, hey, if you're coaching this wrestler and they get choice in the second or third period, the default answer might not always be put them down, right? It may be this wrestler is actually best on top and that's where they score. Let's choose top. Let's give it a try in one of these matches and see how they do, right? So there's some advanced metrics here that you can spend some time looking at. We have a glossary of these. There's an information icon here. If you clicked on that, there's a nice glossary of what all these metrics are and how they're put together and things like that. So definitely spend some time with that. We know that coaches and teams also like pre-built reports that can be printed out, hung on the wrestling wall, etc. And so we have a full suite up at the top of stats and reports. If you click on the reports tab here, we have pre-built reports that you can click on and look at and view and print out. You can cut these up in a couple different ways. But like an example of one of these reports is your team leaderboard, right? So if I click on this leaderboard, I can look at my leaderboard across my different scorebooks. So I'm looking at my varsity leaderboard and I have a top 10 list in all of these different categories. A lot of coaches like to take these leaderboards, print them out every week, put them on the wrestling wall, get kids motivated by it, etc. So it's easy to download, print them out, and do whatever you'd like to with it. We also have a section of MatBoss here that includes school records. Nice part about this is you can go in here and start tracking your school records across your entire team, including you could take guys like me that wrestled in the 90s and put their school records in here and track those. And now you have your robust school records in here. Right now, these school records don't update automatically as a kid is wrestling. That's on our roadmap and it's something we're going to get done. But right now you would manually update those results into the school records. Where we want to get to with this is as a wrestler is wrestling in MatBoss, their career results are updating them and you can see them and be getting notified as they're moving up the school record leaderboard, and something that you guys can celebrate as a team or celebrate with that wrestler. All right, I'm going to pause on that. Any questions?
Nothing in the chat.
Okay. All right. Logins. So we rebuilt the way logins work this year to try and make this a lot easier for coaches. In the past, MatBoss had a system where you had to go in against each kid's roster entry and put in their email address. And then we would send them an email for them to register with that email address, etc. And it was a lot of work for coaches to have to go in and manually putting every kid's email. And then the problem was schools would filter our emails occasionally. So coaches would do all that work, send the emails, and then kids wouldn't get the emails because the school is filtering them out. So the way it works now is you can always view who has logins into your account. I can see the coaches that have logins. I can see when they last logged in. I can see wrestlers that have logins when they last logged in. I can also edit or remove access from them at any time if I wanted to. And then I can see former wrestlers that are no longer on the team, but they've graduated, if they have logins, and you can manage that. One important note about former wrestlers is When a wrestler has been made a former wrestler, at that point, we remove access from everything in the account except their own matches and their own stats. They can't, if you're a former wrestler and you still can log into the account, they can't see anything else in your account except for their own stuff. And the reason we do that is you may have a wrestler that still wants to see his or her old matches and relive the glory days, but now they're coaching, at the city next to you for that high school team, and you're nervous that they're going to get into your account and scout your kids. If they're a former wrestler, they can't do that. They can only view their own matches. So to invite wrestlers to your account, what you would do is just grab this link here at the bottom. If you click on it, you copy it. You can now email, text, or put like on a common message board that link. Wrestlers or assistant coaches can click on that, create a login, and that login will show up in your pending invites. So you'll have a list of a bunch of pending invites here. And then all you have to do is look at it, click on it. You can approve it or deny it. Once you approve it, then the wrestler can log in and get into this account and be able to see their matches, etc. So this should be significantly, I know a lot of teams have used it so far, and I think it's a lot easier, a lot cleaner for you guys to manage logins this year. And that was one of the things that we had gotten a lot of feedback on from coaches. Is it's cumbersome to get kids into the account or other coaches. So I'm going to pause on that. Does anybody have questions about login access, managing any of that?
Can anybody, if these wrestlers log in, can they basically screw anything up? Can they get into our schedule or any of that other stuff?
They can't. Wrestlers don't have the ability to create events, to modify scoring. Wrestlers don't have the ability to record matches, etc. Basically, wrestlers only have view access.
Thank you.
They can download their own video, like a copy of their video, like if they wanted to do something with it or save it for family or email it to grandparents or something like that. They can do that, but they can't change results or modify anything in the account. You have to have a coaching profile to do that.
Perfect.
Okay, great. I'm going to move on. The library is just a section where, as coaches, you guys can put content in that your team might want to reference or might want to look back at. Some examples of that could be a link to a YouTube technique video, a skin form, a parent approval form for an out-of-town tournament, etc. So you can put content in here and go in and delete it when you're done with it or leave it out there, etc. This account, obviously, you can see they're using it to put like some technique videos. So they have a hip heist in here. If I click on this,
introducing Grammarly.
takes me to a,
your all-in-one writing assembly.
but it takes me to a Carrie
This
Polat
is
video.
Fraser.
Uh,
Go-to
I'm
tool for writing a
heist.
sharp, clear,
Sorry.
and ready for whatever hat you put on. It works like this. Here are some notes from a busy meeting. Paraphraser helps turn messy notes into.
So, anyways, so you can put whatever you want to, and think about it as just a content area where you guys can put documents or links to videos, etc. in there. Wrestlers can't add to this. It's just something coaches can add to. We've added a message board this year in MatBoss. And so you can, if you click on messages, we're in phase 1 of this message board. Right now in phase 1, MatBoss can put messages in your message board related to important updates to the system. Could be heads up on an issue, some reminders, heads up that we have a new release out, things like that. So we're going to add to your message board this year. Where we're going with this feature in the future, and we'll have it maybe sometime this season or next season, is we want to replicate some of the functionality that maybe you guys are already paying for separately with Band or Team Snap or something like that, where you're trying to message your kids, hey, bus leaves at 8 tomorrow. Remember to bring your championship singlets, etc. In the future, you as coaches will be able to go in here and add messages. And then if your wrestlers had MatBoss on their phone, they'd get that notification, can click on, oh, coach said, make sure we bring our white singlets to the tournament this weekend, etc. And so that's coming, but we're just in phase 1 of that right now. And then settings. I talked about settings a little bit. If you want to modify your scorebooks, you click on settings, and I can see my scorebooks here. I can go in and change the name of each of these scorebooks to whatever I'd like to. You can configure that in any way that you want. You can also modify the weight classes underneath each scorebook. And so you have a couple ways to be able to modify weights. You can go in here and just, change the weight to something that you want. You can add additional weight classes. Or another nice feature is, Cody, let's say, your team's traveling to Minnesota for the MatBoss Christmas tournament this year. And Minnesota's using different weight classes than what you have in Wisconsin. You can click on this reset button, pick Minnesota weights. Oops, it's at the top. I can pick Minnesota weights, have those update to Minnesota weights, save those, go to that tournament. Now I have those weights in that scorebook. And now when I'm back in Wisconsin, I can come in here, grab my Wisconsin weights again, update it, and go from there. All right. So go ahead and modify those however you want to, but you do that in the scorebook. You only have to do that in one spot. And then once you save and that syncs to our servers, when those other devices sync, they're going to pull down those changes into all of the devices. So don't feel like you had to go make these changes in every single one of your iPads, etc. I always think about it as you're making a change in one spot, it's syncing to our servers, and now when all the devices or other people log into the computer and they pull down that information, now they have the latest information on that. Okay. Another setting I'm just going to show quickly is you have a video access setting here. You can make the decision as coaches that when wrestlers log in, they can either view all of the matches and all the video in your account, or they can only view their own matches. And it's up to you to make a decision based on the maturity of your team and how you want to manage that. Some coaches love it that kids watch their teammates' matches and they can learn from them and things like that. Some coaches are nervous about it and they're like, I don't want them watching another kid's video and doing something with it or making fun of the kid or something like that. So it's up to you guys, but the way where you would manage that setting is my organization and then this video access button here. Okay. All right, at this point, I'm going to jump over to the iPad and show some recording and how to score matches and upload video and things like that. Before I do that, or as I get that set up, does anybody have any questions on reviewing video, setting up the account, any of that sort of thing? No questions, a bad question.
There's nothing in the chat, Jeremy.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna swap over to my iPad. So Eric, can you just let me know if you can see it?
Yes, I can.
Okay. All right. So I'm mirroring my iPad right now. You can see that the look and feel, the iPad app is exactly like the website, as I mentioned before. The reason the color difference is it's just lighter dark mode on your device or on your browser. So if you like this dark mode better, you can put your iPads or your browser into dark mode and use this dark mode. I personally like the dark mode better than the light mode, but you can do it either way. Whatever's best for you guys. All right, so I'm in an account here. I can see I've synced the device. One way that you can always double check the syncing or make sure that it's synced with the servers is in the lower left here, there's this little icon. If I click on that, it's gonna pull the latest data from the server. So that's an easy way to just make sure that everything's synced if you want to. As you click around, it's gonna be syncing anyways, but if you're ever like, hey, I feel like something should be updated, click on that to just double check. You don't need these devices to be connected to Wi-Fi at tournaments to run MatBoss. You can run in a non-Wi-Fi connected mode, and typically, the reason why that's a good idea sometimes is the internet at schools can be pretty sketchy, right? But one thing you want to make sure is if you added this event that we're going to tonight on the website, as you guys are leaving the school, and while this still has internet, you may want to sync it to make sure that event gets pulled into this device. And now I have it. So you can see on this device, I have this Watertown versus Columbia Heights duel, right? So we're ready to go. And I can click on it right now. There isn't any matches in this event, which is why it's blank. I can always add matches though, right? And so if I click add matches, I can choose to add matches at every weight, or I can just add a few at a time or add them as I need, on demand. So right now I'll just add 5 matches. MatBoss is going to look at your roster and try and pre-fill your wrestler into these matches. And so what MatBoss is doing is looking at, this is a varsity dual meet. The wrestler that's listed as varsity on my roster at 107 is Lauren Traxler. So we're filling this match with Lauren Traxler. If that's not right, or you pick somebody else, no big deal. Just click on Lauren's name and you can pick somebody else from your roster really easily. So I'll pick Kyle Anderson and save it. It's as easy as that to change it. And you can change your wrestler's name or the opposing wrestler's name at any time before before you recorded, while you're recording, or after you recorded. Now, one thing we get questions on quite a bit is opposing rosters. So MatBoss puts the opposing rosters on your device on a regular basis every time you sync, which is why like you can run in an offline mode and still have access to all the opposing team's rosters that you need. So to manage opposing rosters, so I'm on a dual meet, we're wrestling Watertown. If I click on the more button at the top, you'll see I have an opposing rosters section here. So I can click on opposing rosters and I could grab Columbia Heights, and not Columbia Heights, Watertown, for example. I could search for it here too. I can go water. All right, there's Watertown. So I'm gonna grab Watertown. I'm gonna add Watertown to the list and click save. So now Watertown is attached, their roster is attached to this duel. And so if I click on an opposing roster, you can see Watertown is already listed here, and I have full access to their roster to be able to grab the opposing wrestler names. Now, if this was a tournament event, I could still come here and go opposing rosters. There's 8 teams at this tournament. I'm going to add all 8 teams. I'll just add another one. I'll add Chaska or somebody, Apple Valley. Add them to the list, click save. And now when I'm grabbing this, I have Apple Valley and I have Watertown here. So now you can see I can grab from Apple Valley's roster too. Now, one thing we're doing is in track wrestling and USA bracketing, if those teams are already attached to the event when you do the import, we're going to auto attach those rosters to the event. So you won't have to do that manual roster add stuff that I just did. But the way that it works is you guys may import these events early before all the teams were attached in track wrestling. So you may still need to go in and add some of those, or your managers might have to add some of those at real time. The syncing also works here. So like the fact that I added Watertown and Apple Valley to this event, if this device syncs, all the other managers that have MatBoss up, once they sync, those schools are already going to be added to that event. So when they go and film off those other iPads, those rosters are already there for them. They don't have to also do it, if that makes sense. All right, so now we're ready to film a match. I'm going to go ahead and click on the recording button. You can see that I'm now in a recording mode. You can see you guys. Again, like I can change the wrestler names right here from the app. To start recording, you just press the red circle on the right-hand side. I can see that we're recording because the timer's gone off. One really nice thing about MatBoss is you can start and stop the video at any time, and we keep that video together as one file. And so like if wrestlers go out of bounds, there's a stoppage, you don't have to film it the whole time. There's blood time, etc. You don't have to film it. Just start and stop. Make sure you pick up the recording again. So, and then you start scoring. Your wrestler's scoring events are always the scoring events on the left-hand side. Okay, that's always your wrestler. The opponent is always on the right-hand side. If you're in a tournament and let's say your wrestler is red, all you have to do is click on this color switcher right here. And there you go. Now you have the right color for your wrestler. Okay. So, but your wrestler's always on the left-hand side. So I'm gonna go ahead and start scoring this. Let's say we get a takedown. You can see the score is 3-0. Now they get a escape. We're keeping the wrestlers in the position that they are, and we're also showing you what position the wrestlers are in on the left-hand side here. We get another takedown. Now it's 6-1. Now let's say they get a reversal. Referee comes over, referee's like, hey, sorry, I know I put the 2 up, but it's actually 1. We're gonna go back, that was an escape. To fix that, all you have to do is click on the R2, the X next to the R2 in the timeline here. And we're gonna put wrestlers back in the position that they were at, fix the score, and now you can mark the E1. So it's as easy as that to fix the scoring in real time. Now, at the end of the period, you click the period plus button here. It's going to ask choice. So let's say we defer, they take bottom. You can see we changed the scoring palette to match the position of the wrestlers. And now you just carry on scoring the match, etc. When we're done, you just click the save and done in the upper right corner. And now you can see we have the match we just recorded right here. Has that gray cloud that I talked about, which means that video is on this device right now, but it's not in MatBoss's cloud environment. At this point, you can still go in and watch the video. You could edit the scoring, you could change the wrestler names, you could fix anything you wanted to. But other folks won't be able to watch it off of their own devices because it's not up in the cloud environment. So now once you get back to good internet, you get back to the school, all you have to do is go back. And now on the left-hand side, you can see video uploads 1. That means there's 1 video on this iPad that needs to be uploaded. So you would click on that video uploads. You can click upload all videos. And now MatBoss is going to upload that video up to our cloud environment. Once we know we have it safely, we're going to remove the video from your iPad so that we keep the storage clean and clear on that iPad. So you don't have to be manually trying to delete videos and things like that. We only delete it off your iPad once we know that we have it and the video is safe. I know we're getting close to time. I'm going to take a quick pause there. Does anybody have any questions on that? And I guess at this point, since we're near time, and again, I can stay, but I'm going to open it up to any questions, or even if you want me to show something again or show something new that I didn't show, just let me know. But what questions do you guys have? Eric, is anything coming in on the chat?
No, sir. Nobody wants to talk to you. Oh, hold on.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Cody said, extremely well done. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Cody.
MatBoss gets better year after year. Thank you, Cody.
Cody, yeah, I appreciate you saying that. I mean, one thing, the platform's obviously not perfect, but I can tell you, we take customer feedback very seriously, and we send a survey at the end of each year, and we want to hear from you guys, and we really want to hear what we can do better, what we can improve, and we take it seriously. We don't get defensive about it. We want this to remain the best wrestling platform out there. And so if you guys have ideas or things you want to see or things we can get better about, please reach out and let us know. What else? Is there anything else that's kind of fuzzy for people or that I could show again or they've maybe struggled with in the past that I could talk about? Well, if not, I won't keep you super late. You know, I would say we're always, hey, there's a future wrestler on the screen there. I would say we're always here to help. So reach out to us. We want to help. Call us, send us a support ticket. We're happy to help at any time. And don't ever feel like you're frustrated or can't get the help that you need. And thank you guys very, very much for joining. And most importantly, thank you for being MatBoss customers.